Alright, dude, we are live. What's up, guys? This is Dem Keys, and today, hopefully, we are going to be finishing learning about modules in Rust. I did a fair bit of reading off stream as well. Basically, where I left off yesterday. Where I left off on stream yesterday, because I got kind of tired, and so I decided to end the stream. I don't remember. I think I fell asleep like shortly after that. I don't remember exactly. I think so. I think. But yeah, I finished. Did I finish this already? No. Okay, so there's one last section in this page remaining, which is using nested paths to clean up large use lists. And then there's this small area, there's a small section in the next page, and then we are done with the modules chapter. After that, I have a couple of these other things which I'm going to be doing on my own time. I really want to get into the Windows crate after this. But what we could do... okay. Just for my reference, after this, I need to refresh my knowledge of ownership and lifetimes in Rust. Ownership, lifetime, and borrowing. These three concepts. I need to refresh my knowledge about them. Then I also need to look into this, using vectors for various purposes. My understanding of this is that this is basically their implementation of a list as opposed to an array. Like Rust has arrays as well, but lists, coming from speaking from a C# point of view, an array, you can't really add things to it. It's usually a fixed size. And so if you want to add something new, you have to allocate a new array. You have to create a new array. And, just give me a second. I just realized there's a bunch of things going on that might be putting a bit of a load on my network. Okay, cool. Now, just to maybe step away from Rust for a little bit, something else that we could do, because I do plan on streaming for a little bit today. I'm saying I plan to stream for a little bit. That makes it sound like I'm going to stream for like 15 minutes or half an hour. No, what I mean is I plan on streaming a little longer today. I managed to start the stream on close to the time when I usually start my stream. I could have started slightly earlier as well. I just got a little distracted with a couple of things. So okay, to keep things a little fresh, we could go back to Godot after I'm done after we are done with the modules section completely. We could go back to Godot and I could learn the scripting side of things, because I realized that there's quite a bit that I don't know in GDScript, and learning about those extra things is going to help me. There's quite a bit to explore, because here's the thing, right? GDScript is sort of the recommended language in Godot, and a lot of things can be done in GDScript itself. You don't absolutely need to use other languages, but the other languages are provided that they have their benefits in various areas. And if you feel like whatever you are doing, you can get that benefit by using a different language instead, then by all means do it. So in some cases it might be speed. In some cases it might be I don't know, like for example in the case of Python, there's like so much more that I can do because not only does it allow you to use Python, it also allows you to install packages, which means I can then do extra things. I can add a bunch of extra functionality. For example, I want to test out what happens when I try to run something like matplotlib, for example. I want to see what happens there. You know what would be a fun experiment? Integrating matplotlib into Godot. Like not having it pop up a separate GUI window, but instead maybe being able to draw the entire graph onto UI in Godot. That would be an interesting experiment. I mean, there should be the easiest way I can think of doing that is just directly drawing shit onto a texture. The thing is, I feel like I would have to handle the rendering of it myself. It could be a fun experiment. I can look into it. But my point is, you can use like using different languages can have different benefits. Just a second. Okay, using different languages can have different benefits. So where was I going with this? Yeah. I want to learn GDScript completely first, or at least get a very good idea of all GDScript related concepts, and then I want to try doing stuff in C# and Python. I'll go into Rust later on, like Rust for Godot. I'll go into it later on. Actually, real quick, I need to unmute the stream on my end and listen to the audio. Because I unplugged the audio. Just a second. Listen to the. Because I unplugged the audio. Just a second. All right, it sounds fine. So I had earlier today I had unplugged my mic after a very long time because I had to test it out with. There was a boom arm that I was trying to test out if I can set up my mic with that, but unfortunately the boom arm wasn't long enough for me to be able to extend it all the way towards me. The way I have my current mic stand set up, it wasn't long enough for me to be able to do that. But yeah, okay. So, GDScript. I want to learn as much as I can about GDScript so I can start doing a bunch of things in Godot. Because there's going to be quite a bit of stuff that I'm going to be able to build. Mainly experimentation stuff that I'm going to be able to build within Godot itself. But before doing any of that, I first need to know the scripting language properly, and then later on I'll look into the C# side of it, and I've already looked into it a little bit off stream, Um, I've looked into the C sharp side. I've looked into the Python side. I've also looked into the Rust side, and that's why I decided that Rust I can set it aside for now. Rust for Godot I can set it aside. I'll use Rust for doing other stuff, but for the time being, I definitely want to check out C Sharp for Godot and Python for Godot. But more importantly, Python for Godot. Because, like, the stuff that I can do in C Sharp, or the stuff that I can build in C Sharp for Godot, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to build something close to that, if not better than that, using GDScript itself. But like when it comes to something like Python, something that actually allows you to bring in functionality from outside in a much more easier way, that's kind of powerful to me. I want to. There's so many things I want to do. The one of them is definitely messing around with MediaPipe. So I'm gonna be running MediaPipe on this system, which we'll have to see how that goes. But like even if that doesn't work out, I can still set up the exact same thing on a different system. Let's say I want to offload the calculation onto a different system, right? Which was the initial plan, offloading it onto a different system. At first I can test it out on this system, and once I know it's working, I can then test it out on a different system. Okay, so let's carry on reading. We were here. Okay, let's carry on reading. Oh, sorry, got distracted for a bit. Okay, so using nested paths to clean up large use lists. If we are using multiple items defined in the same crate or same module, listing each item on its own can take up a lot of vertical space in our files. For example, these two use statements we had in the guessing game bring items from the standard crate into scope. Okay. Instead, we can use nested paths. Instead, we can use just a second. Okay. Instead, we can use nested paths to bring the same items into scope in one line. Oh, okay. That's cool. So I was hoping that they were going to cover doing something like, just a second. I was hoping they were going to cover doing something like this, like using the asterisk to bring all of the contents that from that module or from that crate into the scope. I think later on they might go into it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the asterisk ever gets mentioned here. Because like the only reason I know about it is because I saw it in an example. I saw it in the Windows Crate example. I don't know if it's even mentioned anywhere here. Oh well, okay. So instead we can use nested paths to bring the same items into scope in one line. We do this by specifying the common part of the path followed by 2 colons and then curly brackets around a list of the parts of the paths that differ. That is convenient. Yeah, dude, that's kind of convenient. So we can do something like, for example, okay, where's M mod specified? So we have front of house here, right? Okay. Right, so we have test mod. So here I have more options, right? I can do front of house and test mod as well. But also from front of house, I can add the testing thing, the hosting thing. That works. Are we able to go to the next line with this? Does that work? Is that going to be accepted? Give me a second. Let me save this and see if Rust accepts it. Unused oh, okay. That's fine. Okay. Cool. Nice. Okay, in bigger programs, bringing many items into scope from the same crate or module using nested paths can reduce the number of separate use statements needed by a lot. Sounds good. We can use a nested path at any level in a path, which is useful when combining 2 use statements that share a subpath. For example, in listing so-and-so shows 2 use statements, one that brings standard IO into scope and one that brings IO, it's the next one, okay, and one that brings IO right into scope. The common part of these 2 paths is IO, and that's the complete first path. To merge these 2 paths into one statement, we can use self in the nested path. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So that's how you specify standard IO within that same set of curly brackets. All right, that's interesting. I actually didn't think about that. Oh, there's the asterisk that I was wondering about. Okay, cool. So apparently it's called the glob operator. If we want to bring all public items defined in a path into scope, we can specify that path followed by the asterisk glob operator. This use statement brings all public items defined in standard collections into the current scope. Be careful when using the glob operator. Glob can make it harder to tell what names are in scope and where a name used in your program was defined. That makes sense, yeah. Especially if it's like a massive module or a massive crate which usually if you're dealing with, some kind of library, it's going to be pretty massive. There's going to be like lots of different types, lots of different modules, different structs and stuff like that. So that makes sense, definitely. Um, the glob operator is often used when testing to bring everything under test into the tests module. We'll look at. Give me a second. Let me hydrate. Okay. We'll we'll talk about that in the how to write tests section. Okay, well, I'm not going to be touching the test section for now. So I guess that can wait for later. I actually don't plan on touching the test section for a while, to be honest. Because I'm not. Most of the stuff that I'm doing, it's not like for a massive production environment. Most of the stuff that I'm doing in Rust is my own experimentation. So if I need to start writing tests at some point, I'll learn it at that point. Okay. The glob operator is also sometimes used as part of the prelude pattern. See the standard library documentation for more information on that pattern. Okay, cool. Alright, so we are done with that page. Moving on to the final page of the modules section. Separating modules into different files. So far, all the examples in this chapter defined multiple modules in one file. When modules get large, you might want to move their definitions to a separate file to make the code easier to navigate. Makes sense? For example, let's start from the code in listing so-and-so that had multiple restaurant modules. We'll extract modules into files instead of having all modules defined in the create root file. In this case, the create root file is lib, but this procedure also works with binary crates whose create root file is main. Alright. First, we'll extract front of house module into its own file, remove the code inside the curly brackets from front of house. Wait, remove the code inside the curly brackets for the front of house module, leaving only the leaving only the first line. Okay, leaving only the declaration so that lib contains the code shown in so-and-so. Note that this won't compile until we create the front of house file. Okay, cool. So let's do that. Fortunately, I have a bunch of code here. Is this throwing an error because I used public or because I haven't defined it yet? Can't find the file. Okay. So I either need to create a file, I'm guessing within this directory, called frontofhouse.rs, or I need to create a folder called frontofhouse.rs with a mod.rs file. Okay, let's carry on reading. Let's see. Next, place the code that was in the curly brackets into a new file named front of house. Okay, so it's important that I place it within this directory. Okay, so we're gonna call this front _of_house.rs. We save that, paste this thing here, and here we do pub mod front of house. Okay, great. And now we don't have the error here. Oh shit, okay, there's some breakage going on here. Wait, why is this having an issue? Failed to resolve, could not find hosting in front of house. Okay, let's carry on reading. It might mention what exactly is causing this. The compiler knows to look in this file because it came across the module declaration in the crate root with the name so and so. Okay. Note that you only need to load a file using a mod declaration once in your module tree. Once the compiler knows the file is part of the project and knows where in the module tree the code resides because of where you've put the mod statement, other files in your project should refer to the loaded file's code using a path to where it was declared, as covered in paths for referring to an... Okay. In other words, mod is not an include operation that you may have seen in other programming languages. Okay. Wait, I need to read that again. Note that you only need to load a file using a mod declaration once in your module tree. Once the compiler knows the file is part of the project, other files in your project should refer to the loaded file's code using a path to where it was declared. It was declared over here, but it was defined over here. Okay, so I don't know why I'm suddenly yawning. Give me a second. Maybe I need to drink more of my energy drink. Give me a couple of seconds. Okay. So I'm trying to understand this statement that you only need to load a file using a mod declaration once. So if I'm declaring it here, what if I'm trying to understand how it would go about searching searching for the file, because so far I'm doing everything within one file, but like let's say I created or no, I'm doing everything within one folder. I mean, that's the source folder. But let's say I started creating like a hierarchy of folders, right? I need to find out exactly how finds the files when I do that. Like, let's say I decided to put, so why is this still giving me an error? Okay, let's get rid, oh, wait, the error is gone from, nope, it's still there. Okay, so, uh, what is this? Front of house. Oh, wow. Why, what? Why is that? Why is that happening? Is it because I added the public modifier? Oh, wow, dude. That is interesting. Hold up. Wait, did I miss something here? I think I missed something here. Oh shit, I think I missed something here. Um so this said pub use so and so so and so. I missed that line. I definitely missed that line. Okay. So pub use create front of house housing or hosting. I'm confused as to why there's, hold on, what goes into this? Oh, so this is not necessary here. Oh, there's an ad playing, so I'm going to sit quiet for a bit. Okay, welcome back. So apparently the issue was that I had created the front of house module, and I, like, these code snippets were there and I just completely ignored both of them because I thought I knew what I was doing. Okay, so apparently I wasn't supposed to create the front of house module this in this file because the file itself is named front of house, so only the code for front of house is supposed to go in there. And then, well, the module is being declared over here. So then I should be able to do this, right? Hosting, okay. And if that's the case, then this should work. Okay, why is it still an issue? So let's do front of house, hosting, add. Okay, where's the error? I just rewrote the line. Where's the error? Failed to resolve, could not find so-and-so. Is that because of this? Nope, there's an issue here as well. Unresolved import of unresolved import so-and-so. No hosting in, what did I change the name of it? No, it's still called hosting. Oh, is it because I didn't save it? Fuck. Okay, dude, come on. All right, that was the issue. What happens if I still need public use here, or is the public use mainly only for libraries that are, or is it only for code that's trying to access this module externally? So like, if I did this here, then I would be able to access hosting from the outside. So we can say use, what is it called? Rust project. Let's get rid of this. Rust project. And yeah, okay, we have hosting right there. How do we have hosting right Oh yeah, it's because it's exposed. Yeah, okay. Or rather, it's been brought into scope. So if I got rid of this, first of all, there would, wait, no, that's not supposed to affect this, right? So ignore the first of all, but there's definitely going to be an error here because hosting is not, it's not in this scope anymore. But I could do it this way, right? Oh, is it because I didn't make this public? Yeah, there it is. So I could do it this way. You know, it's kind of interesting. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I haven't made I haven't made the front of house module public, yet I'm able to expose I'm able to bring the public module from front of house, which I haven't made public once again, which is still private. I'm able to bring that into scope here, even though front of house is not necessarily in scope. That is really interesting for me because that kind of it's very different compared to how you would do it in C sharp, for example. But it's also in a way it's kind of powerful because it allows you to bring various modules into scope without having to um how do I put this? I don't even know how to put it. But like it kind of allows you to bring various modules into scope even if their parent modules are restrictive, which I think this would count as restrictive, right? Wouldn't it count as restrictive? Because the module is defined here. It's not public though. I never made it public. Okay, hold on. Yeah, okay. That's a good example. So I never made it public, right? You can't see it here, but you can still see the module that is within this private module because I've I've brought it into the scope of this library that is being accessed. This crate, I guess you should say. I should say that's being accessed. There's a lot that I can experiment with here. I need to experiment quite a bit more to get a better hang of this. Okay, let's carry on. Let's carry on reading. Um, where were we? Okay, next we'll extract the hosting module to its own file. The process is a bit different because hosting is a child module of front of house, not of the root module. Oh, so is this where we're gonna bring folders in? Okay, cool. We'll place the file for hosting in a new directory that will be named for its ancestors in the module tree. In a directory that is named for its ancestors. So in this case, the parent, which is front of house. In this case, oh yeah, okay, there it is. I didn't read the rest of the sentence. So yeah, it's in this case, source front of house. To start moving hosting, we change the code in front of house to contain only the declaration of the hosting module. And this is interesting. So we also make it public. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create a new file. Before that, okay, we can get rid of this. So we create a new file. We bring the hosting code. Actually, would I need to? I don't think I would need to, right? I can just bring this in instead. So there's an error here. Understandably, I bring these two functions in here, and here I need to create a folder first. I need to create it with the name front of house. And then in here, I need to create hosting.rs. All right. So that's done. And now that is not throwing an error either. And nothing has broken here. This seems to be working exactly how it's supposed to work. And it makes sense that I need to make hosting public over here because I'm trying to access hosting from front of house. So it makes sense that I need to make it public. All right. Okay, so we are declaring, I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to get the terminology right. So we are declaring the module here, but we are adding the actual implementation separately in its own file. But also, we need to make sure that there's a folder with the parent's name. It's not enough. How do I put this? So what I'm guessing, what I'm understanding here is that when you declare a module that you plan on defining in a different file, when you declare a module within another module, the file that parent module, the folder in which the file of that parent module resides in that same folder, you need to create another folder with the name of the parent module, and then within that folder, you have to create the child module that you're trying to define. Okay. Okay. Just a second. Um, Done. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm kind of I'm kind of connecting the dots here. Then we create a front of house directory and a file called hosting.rs to contain the definitions made in the hosting module. Okay. If we instead put hosting.rs in the source directory, the compiler would expect the hosting code to be in the hosting module, to be in a hosting module declared in the create root. Oh, okay. So it's expecting it to be in a file that is within the create root and not declared as a child of the front of house module. Okay. All right. The compiler's rules for which files to check for which modules code means the directories and files more closely match the module tree. All right, that makes sense. Alternate file paths. So far, we've covered the most idiomatic file paths. I need to look into if I'm pronouncing this word right because I think even the word itself I've only ever known it to be pronounced as idioms. Um, and there's also the word idiot, right? But yeah, I think I've only ever heard the word pronounced as idioms. Anyways, so far we've covered the most idiomatic file paths the Rust compiler uses, but Rust also supports an older style of file path. For a module named front of house declared in the create root, the compiler will look for the module's code in either the front of house file or in. Okay, so this is, I think I was mentioning this a couple of streams back where I remember reading somewhere. It wasn't here. It was in like some either maybe Stack Overflow or Reddit where somebody was asking a question about, modules and paths and stuff like that. And I remember reading there that like this was the older style. I just couldn't remember when I was talking about it a couple of streams back. I couldn't remember if I'd read that part right, that it's the older style. But yeah, apparently this is the older style where you create a folder called. So the code for, based on the older style, the code for front of house would be in a file called mod, which would reside in the folder called front of house. So there has to be a folder with that same module's name. And within that folder, there has to be a file called mod, which contains the actual module code. Though that seems like a lot of extra folders, which I guess is why it's the older style. Maybe they eventually developed a better style, which is what they're using now. Okay. For a module named hosting, that is a submodule of, oh, this is, they're carrying on the example, which is a submodule of front of house. The compiler will look for the module's code in pretty much the same thing. Okay, cool. So I'm going to need to practice modules a lot more, but I'll do that off stream. For now, let's just finish reading up on this, and then I think I want to switch over to Godot and look into the scripting side of things. Because there's a bunch of things that I want to do in Godot. And the only way I'm going to be able to do them is once I've familiarized myself with GDScript pretty well. Okay. Okay, there is a bit more to read. Okay, so we're gonna finish reading this. If you use both styles for the same module, you'll get a compiler error. Using a mix of both styles for different modules in the same project is allowed, but might be confusing for people navigating your project. That makes sense. The main downside to the style that uses files named mod.rs is that your project can end up with many files named mod.rs, which can get confusing when you have them open in your editor at the same time. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. All right, then. We've moved each module's code to a separate file, and the module tree remains the same. The function calls in eat at restaurant will work without any modification. That's a good point. Like, so far we've moved things around and things haven't broken, or at least like we didn't need to change a whole lot. These two calls, they remain the same despite having moved the code into like separate files. Even the code over here that might have been calling, like something like this, that also remains the same, because technically, like, it is still the same, right? Hosting is still within this file, which is in the create root. So hosting is being declared in the create root, or I think this is called redeclaration. I don't remember. There was a name given to it. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I think it was mentioned here. Not using external packages. Re-exporting names. Yeah, that's what it's called. This thing where we use pub use to export the thing to not declare exactly. In this case, we are not declaring it. In this case, we are trying to bring it into scope. But like we are bringing hosting into scope, even though hosting is technically defined within this module tree, we are still bringing it into scope, so it's easier to access it. The same thing can be done. I believe their example was even for other stuff that is not necessarily within this crate. You can still like bring it in here and then create like an access point, an easier access point. Okay, let's carry on reading. They'll work without any modification, even though the definitions live in different files. This technique lets you move modules to new files as they grow in size. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is that is actually pretty cool because that definitely makes it a lot easier to move things around because you have like a fixed convention, a fixed not even a convention. Like this is like you know that this is the design that you have to follow if you want to move it into a new file. You create, if it's a submodule, you create a folder with the same parent module's name. Within that folder, you create a new file with the child module, the submodule's name. And then within that file, you place the code. All you have to do is then copy paste that code and then go back to the parent module and make sure that you have created the declaration there and you're good to go. There's not like too much work to do there. That's pretty amazing. Note that pub use create so and so statement in lib also hasn't changed, nor does use have any impact on what files are compiled as part of the crate. The mod keyword declares modules, and Rust looks in a file with the same name as the module for the code that goes into that module. Okay, I'm just trying to imagine that. I'm trying to visualize that. The mod keyword declares the modules, and Rust looks for a file that, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? So like this is looking in this scenario, it would be looking in the create root in the case of like front of house. And so front of house, it exists within the create root itself. But like any modules that are defined within front of house would then have to have their own folder, and the folder would have to have the submodules. Okay, cool. Summary. Rust lets you split up a package into multiple crates and a crate into modules so you can refer to items defined in one module from another module. You can do this by specifying absolute or relative paths. These paths can be brought into scope with the use of, no, with a use statement. So you can use a shorter path for multiple uses of the item in that scope. Okay. Module code is private by default, but you can make definitions public by adding the pub keyword. Okay. Yeah, I remember. I think this was an example of that, right? No, there was another example where No, no, okay, no, no, no. This is yeah. You can make the definition public by adding the pub keyword. Okay, yeah, I was thinking of something else. But yeah, this is just talking about the fact that you can make the definition public. In the next chapter, we'll take a look at some collection data structures in the standard library that you can use in your neatly organized code. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm wondering what I'm in the mood for right now. Do I want to get into Godot and carry on learning the GDScript thing? I feel like that would be fun to explore right now. Because, okay, these are the things that I have to look into later on. This is traits. I plan on looking into this. Wait, how do you do default implementations here? Sometimes it's useful to have default behavior for some or all of the modules. No, some or all of the methods in a trait instead of requiring implementations for all methods on every type. Where does it mention that it's a default? Then as we implement the trait on a particular type, we can keep or override each method's default behavior. Here we specify a default string for the summarize method of the summary trait instead of only defining the method signature. To use a default implementation to summarize instances of uh okay. I think I'll understand this more once I start reading it from the top. But I'm not gonna do this during this stream. I'll do this on my own time. So I need to look into traits. I need to look into vectors, and finally ownership. And well, I need to refresh my knowledge on ownership, borrowing, and references. And there's also the slice type. Yep. Okay. There's that too. But for the time being, I think I want to open up Godot. So I think I'm going to do that. I don't need to go into the BRB screen. I can just open up Godot right now and load up the project. I don't know if I've shown you guys the new colors that I set up. It's great because like in Godot, you have there's two options that you have. If you want to like customize your theme color, there are two options you have. One is you can like, create a whole new custom theme for that changes a bunch of different UI elements. Another, which is a much more simpler option, which is if you're only looking to change colors, you can use this option. And this is something that a very helpful person in my comments of my VOD had mentioned as well. This was in the early days when I was learning Godot. I'm saying early days like it was a couple of years back. It was just like maybe 2 or 3 weeks back when I was brand new to Godot and I was wondering how you change. Um, just a second, I just realized I haven't started up Godot. Okay, yeah. So this was in the early days when I was wondering how you would go about creating a custom theme. So you can create a whole new custom theme. That is one option you have. Another option is to just change two colors. You have options, or you have, well, you have the option to change. Just a second, let me open up this project. Then I can go into settings and tell you exactly what the option is. So there are two colors. One color affects a bunch of other things, and the other color, it's more of a highlight color. So that affects another set of things as well. And these are the only two colors that you need to mess around with. If you only want to change colors, okay, hold on. Let me switch over to Godot. Did I have an issue? I can't remember if I had an issue earlier in Godot. Was it having trouble capturing? Just a second. Let me okay, we can transition. So this is what my editor looks like right now. Let me just see if it showed up on stream. Yeah, okay. So this is what my editor looks like now. And all I had to do was change two colors. So you go to editor, editor settings, I think theme. So you can't see the window that just popped up because that's not being captured by OBS. But an editor window and an editor settings window is going to pop up. In there, under interface, you select the theme option, and under the theme option, you'll find two properties called base color and accent color. Change these two colors, and you'll be able to see different colors showing up. Actually, I could demonstrate it right now. So let me just copy this color real quick so it doesn't get completely messed up. Okay, so this is going to change now to purple. Just give it a couple of seconds. It can take some time to show up. Yeah, there it is. So it's a little too bright. I can turn that down. That's not too much of an issue. I wasn't going for purple anyways. I was going for more of a dark dark pink kind of thing. But I could try to incorporate purple into this. But it's not my thing, really. Purple isn't really. Oh, what just happened? Something happened there. Okay, there it is. Yeah. Uh purple, I mean purple is one of my favorite colors, but I just like dark pink so much more. So much more. I'm trying to make it darker so it's like a little less obnoxious. I think this is a little better. Yeah. So yeah, you can see how this helps. And then so that's the base color that applies to a bunch of different things, and it handles the shading of various other elements based on this color that you have set. So it's gonna make, based on this color, it'll pick either a darker shade or a lighter shade for like different elements. And that's great because that gives the user more simplicity. The user doesn't need to go and create an entire custom theme in order to do whatever they were trying to do. Like this, just changing these two colors, it's more than enough for me. I don't need any of the other stuff. But in the future, if I do want to create a whole custom theme and change like a whole bunch of things, then I can definitely do that. I also just realized that my VTuber avatar has been on screen the entire time. Well, I mean, it's been obstructing the view the entire time. It's still going to be on stream and on screen. Let me just make sure it's not getting cut off. Okay, great. So here's what I was trying to do. I was trying to learn about nodes. No, not nodes. I was trying to learn about. I was trying to learn more about GDScript. So just give me a second while I open this up. GDScript. There's GDScript reference. So there's 2 pages that we're going to look at today. Oh shit, the music stopped. I didn't realize. Let's fix that real quick. Music was paused and it is not paused anymore. Also, I don't think shuffle has been on this entire time. Now shuffle is on. Okay, great. Cool. So, here's what we are going to be learning, what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at GDScript reference, which I feel like it's more of a thing that I have to skim through it, not like, read in detail every single thing, because I feel like this is something that I'll be coming back to over and over again when I need to know, oh, hey, how does this concept work? How does that concept work? Each time I'll have to come back to this and check it out. So like reading the whole thing right now, it's not really going to be very beneficial. I can just skim through it real quick. Stuff like this, for example, various keywords and various operators, and it's good to know so I can like skim through it real quick. But I don't need to like read it in like, detail. Can I zoom in? What happens if I zoom in? Does that look better? I think that's more readable for me. I can go back a little bit. That works. And then you have, this is what I'm more interested in, because I feel like this is going to give me more of the information that I'm looking for. Now, give me a second while I hydrate, and then we can start reading more. Oh, I should also change the tags. Give me a second for that as well. I just need to remove the word rust and then add Godot. Can another tag fit? No. Okay. I think that's it. Okay. All right. So we can start. Oh, I haven't drank water. Give me a second. All right. Okay. GDScript reference. GDScript is a high level. Just a second. Okay. GDScript is a high-level object-oriented, imperative, and gradually typed programming language built for Godot. It uses an indentation-based syntax similar to languages like Python. Its goal is to be optimized for and tightly integrated with Godot engine, allowing great flexibility for content creation and integration. Now, real quick, I'm going to stop here for a second. this is one of the reasons, like this little advertisement that they gave about GDScript. This is this is what made me think that, okay, if they're putting it in this way, there's a decent chance that this language contains enough features. It's feature rich enough that we would be able to build complex systems with it. We would be able to build reusable libraries with it. We would be able to build plugins with it. And we would be able to do a whole lot more than just making a character jump and move around, if you get what I'm saying. So that is why I wanted to look more into GDScript, because when the documentation mentions, and when a bunch of the other longtime members of the community, and even the core devs themselves, and contributors, and like other devs that contribute, and all, many of them are also saying that, yeah, the language is very tightly integrated with Godot. My assumption there is that they haven't created a very basic language. There definitely has to be, sophisticated parts to this language. There definitely have to be features that allow you to build sophisticated things. So that's where my mind is going. I still don't know to what extent it is possible to do things with this language, and that's kind of the whole idea, right? That's what I want to learn. I do know that there's a concept of you are able to create reusable libraries. You are able to create classes, but like I haven't tried that out yet, so I don't know exactly what that entails in this language, in this context. Like for example, in C#, for example, I can tell you that a class can be used to create a type, right? A type for an instanced type. You can also create a static class, so you don't have to create an instance. But yeah, I can tell you that, okay, a class is a type. That type can have members. Those members can either be methods or properties or fields or all of them. And instanced classes have constructors that get invoked when a new instance is made. Stuff like that. I can tell you that about C#. I can't tell you that about GDScript yet, because I don't know exactly what happens when you create a class, what class means in this language. So I'm trying to learn all of those things, because I want to be able to create complex systems with this language. And if need be, I can do it in C# as well, because given my knowledge in C#, given my like decades worth of experience in C#, I don't think I'm going to have a hard time picking up C# for Godot. It's going to be more about understanding how they are making C# work with Godot. Like what programming paradigm I'm supposed to use. Like for example, when I learned about when I was learning how to use C# with Unity, I had to learn that, okay, you can create a script and you can attach that script to a game object as a component, right? And when you open up that script, the script is not just a class. First of all, it's a class. I believe it's a class with that script name that you have set up. But also this class inherits from another class called monoBehavior. So essentially what you're creating is a monoBehavior. The script that you're creating is a monoBehavior, right? And this script has a start method and an update method, and a couple of other methods as well that get called at different times. So this is what I'm talking about. Like that is how they made C# work with Unity. So what I need to understand is how the Godot developers have made C# work with Godot, and what are the various. Well, okay, so we already know that, we already know that Godot has these various events that get called, right? Stuff like ready and process. I think init is one of them. I forgot what the exact name was for these things, but yeah, you have a bunch of these methods, right? And these methods get called at different times during different events, and some of them are called often. I think process is called often. Yeah, process is, I believe it's the equivalent of update. I think so. Since the previous frame. So yeah, this is called every frame. So this is the equivalent of update. So we already know that these methods exist. Then at that point, the only thing to understand is how this gets mapped into C#. And I've already seen a little bit of it. So for example, I guess this would be a good example, like where it says extends node 2D your class, which would be your script name. That class would be inheriting from node 2D. Like it's something like that. I've seen one example where it was inheriting from button. In this case, it's a node 2D because, well, that's like that's like the default thing when you're creating a script for a node 2D object, right? Another thing I noticed is the use of attributes. That's their way of exporting variables for exposing them to, the inspector and stuff like that. And I noticed a similar thing in Python as well, and in Rust as well. They were using attributes, or that language's equivalent of an attribute, to do these various things. So yeah, I don't know why I was explaining this. I forgot why I was explaining this, but yeah, I just explained all of this. Great, cool. So we're gonna carry on. That was a tangent, dude. Holy shit, that was a long tangent. All right, GDScript is entirely independent from Python and is not based on it. This is a misconception that I had initially. Either I'd read it somewhere, or I looked at the syntax and assumed that it was similar to Python. It is similar in some aspects, one of those aspects being the indentation based thing, because Python is also indent based. So like if you create a function, there has to be a tab. In some cases, I think 4 spaces might be accepted, but yeah, there has to be a tab. If you create an if condition, there has to be a tab. If you create a for loop, there has to be a tab. Actually, all of the statements that come within that code block have to be tabbed. They have to be indented, essentially. So you have to add the appropriate number of tabs there. That's just how Python works. But yeah, having seen that, like there's a few similarities to Python, but I definitely, after having learned GDScript to a certain extent, I wouldn't say that it is essentially just Python, because like there are a lot of differences. Okay, let's see what this is saying. History. Documentation about GDScript's history has moved to frequently asked questions. Should we dig into the history? Let's see what is GDScript and why should I use it? Are we reading the brochure again? What were the motivations behind creating? Yeah, this is all okay. This is story time, and this could be interesting to learn. What 3D model formats? Okay, that's something else to get into. Will insert closed SDK such as Fmod, GameWorks, etc. be supported in Godot? So this is even the one of the core engine devs mentioned this, that when you talk about proprietary software, things get a little bit complicated because those people who own the proprietary software, they set certain standards and they have certain requirements uh, that your own software must meet before they would be willing to integrate their software with your software. And of course, if it's proprietary and you require to have a license, they're not just going to allow you to post their code into your repo. It's not that simple. So it gets a little bit complicated when you're trying to integrate closed source proprietary software with an open source software. They are finding ways to deal with this right now. And one very good example of this exact same thing that I just described is consoles. Because like a lot of people, while switching to Godot, or when there was a whole lot of Godot hype, there still is a lot of Godot hype, but like in the early days, when in like when Unity's little pricing change thing was still very fresh, when that issue was still very fresh, in those days people were discussing Godot a whole lot, and consoles were getting brought up quite a bit, right? Microsoft's Xbox, Sony's PlayStation, Nintendo's Switch, and whatever other company that has proprietary hardware and proprietary software. All of these kinds of consoles and devices and platforms and all were getting brought up. So eventually people had to explain that there are certain hurdles that they have to deal with. It's not that they don't want to do it, it's that they cannot legally do it. So they have to find a way to do it legally, which by the way they're working on. They're working on something right now. I don't plan on releasing for consoles, at least not right now. That's not really what I'm aiming for. I would like to work on a project that I could release on PC. For those of you who don't know, I was working on a project a while back. This was a couple of years back. This was a project that me and my brother started 7 years ago. Yeah, this was in 2016. And we made some progress in it. It's just that we both were very new to doing this. He was handling the art side of it, and I was handling the coding side of it, and the audio and the game design. We were both handling it, so we would have like discussions and come up with various ideas, and there were certain things that both of us were handling and certain things that just each of us were handling based on our expertise. And the project, it eventually went on like an indefinite hold, and it just remained on an indefinite hold. And now I want to try releasing a game again, try working on a game, something small. That was another mistake that we had made back then. I think we didn't realize that we were how do I put this? We were having the issue of feature creep where we just kept on adding features. We never really finalized the game design document. So we ended up adding more and more features, and stuff would just not get implemented. As many features as we were adding, we weren't really implementing that many of them. Give me a second, real quick. I'm just opening up something on another system. But yeah, okay. So I do wanna work on something simple. Something simple but fun. And I feel like doing it in Godot would be a good choice. I mean, that is if I get a chance, away from all of the other experimentation that I'm doing, the AI studies, the building my VTubing tech, streaming, and there's also I want to pick back up on the Unity tutorials thing. Well, Unity tutorials, but also other tutorials. I wanna do other types of tutorials as well. Maybe even Godot tutorials. I'll see. Okay, just a second. Is the music still going? I'm not listening to the music, so okay, music is still going. Let's just click back into that page and move things around a little bit so YouTube knows that we're still here. And now we're good. Okay, cool. So we're probably not going to read this whole history thing. Which programming language should I use for? No, which programming languages are supported in Godot? The officially supported languages for Godot are GDScript, C#, and C++. See the subcategories for... Okay, so there is some changes to this information. I believe there are some changes here. Nim. I haven't heard this name in a long time. Nim. What is this, a programming language? I think so. I haven't heard this name in ages. What exactly is this? Hold on. Oh yeah, okay, this is a language. I have not heard this name in ages. I don't even know what it was focused on. Give me a second while I Google this. Okay, what are we looking at here? NIM is a general-purpose, multi-paradigm, statically typed, compiled, high-level systems programming language designed and developed by a team around Andreas Rumpf. It was designed by a team around a person? Okay. NIM is designed to be efficient, expressive, and elegant, supporting metaprogramming, functional message passing, procedural and object-oriented programming styles by providing several features such as compile time, code generation, algebraic data types, a foreign function interface with C, C++, Objective-C, and JavaScript, and supporting compiling to those same languages as intermediate representation. Wow, dude. What? Holy shit. There's a lot going on in this language, or with this language. But yeah, dude, I haven't heard this name in a long time. What does the syntax look like? Uh hmm. Okay, all right. That's enough of that. But yeah, that's interesting too. That's interesting to know. Is this still in development? I guess not. What did the documentation say? As for new languages, support is possible via third parties with GD extensions. Work is currently underway, for example, on unofficial bindings for Godot to Python and Nim. Okay, so let's read this. What is GDScript and why should I use it? GDScript is Godot's integrated scripting language. It is built from the ground up to maximize Godot's potential in the least amount of code, affording both. Oh, okay. There's an ad playing, so I'm gonna. Well, I guess I'll hydrate in the meantime. Okay, welcome back. Um, it was built from the ground up to maximize Godot's potential in the least amount of code, affording both novice and expert developers alike to capitalize on Godot's strengths as fast as possible. If you've ever written anything in a language like Python before, then you'll feel right at home. For example, for examples and a complete overview of the power GDScript offers offers you, check out the GDScript scripting guide. There are several reasons to use GDScript, especially when you are prototyping in alpha beta stages of your project or are not creating the next or are not creating the next AAA title. Okay. Um all right. The most salient reason. No. What does that say? Salient. What does that mean? Salient. The most noticeable or important. Okay. The most noticeable. So the most fine. Let's say the most noticeable reason is that is the overall reduction of complexity. The original intent of creating a tightly integrated custom scripting language for Godot was twofold. First, it reduces the amount of time necessary to get up and running with Godot, giving developers a rapid way of exposing themselves to the engine with a focus on productivity. Second, it reduces the overall burden of maintenance, uh, attenuates the dimensionality of issues. I have no idea what that means in this context. Um, and allows the developers of the engine to focus on squashing bugs and improving features related to the engine core. rather than spending a lot of time trying to get a small set of incremental features working across a large set of languages. Okay, I get that. Yep, I can definitely see that. Um, since Godot is an open source project, it was imperative from the start to prioritize a more integrated and seamless experience over attracting additional users by supporting more familiar programming languages, especially when supporting those more familiar languages would result in a worse experience. We understand if you would rather use another language in Godot. That being said, if you haven't given GDScript a try it for 3 days. Just like Godot, once you see how powerful it is and rapid once you see how powerful it is and once you see how rapid your development becomes, um, we think GDScript will grow on you. More information about getting comfortable with GDScript or dynamically typed languages can be found in so and so section. Okay, so we just read the brochure. So sounds good. Let's carry on reading. So we read the history, and here's an example. Some people can learn better by taking a look at the syntax. So here's an example of how GDScript looks. Okay, so we're probably going to have to read the comments here, right? So icon is something I haven't used yet, which is going to be interesting because like I feel like being able to attach. Dude, something I need to do is figure out the whole path thing in Python. No, not Python. In Godot. Not even path. What am I trying to say here? Like, I've noticed some situations where the editor will freak out if you move assets around. If you move resources, they're called resources, I believe, in Godot. If you move resources around, resources that have references to something, there are still chances that it can break. I think they've tried to mitigate that issue as much as possible to minimize the breakage, but I think there are still some situations where you can cause that issue by moving a resource, by moving a node that's been saved as a resource. And the only way to fix the error after that is to like, because the console will be giving you errors when you try to like save the scene and stuff like that. And the only way to fix those errors is to like change the resource path back to where it was. So like if you moved it into a new folder, just move it back and the issue will be fixed. But that also means that you can't freely move resources around without having to worry about the editor freaking out because you moved a resource around. So I need to experiment with various things and figure out exactly which situations, in which situations things can break and in which situations they won't break. So I need to do a lot of experimentation there. All right, so here we have class definition. Okay, and that is for inheritance. Extends is for inheritance. This is how you create variables. This is how you create constants. I don't think I've used constants yet, so that's good to know. I haven't used dictionaries yet either. I think I haven't. I don't remember. Um, oh, there's multiple ways to create a dictionary. That's interesting. Then you can also specify the type of the variable you're trying to. What is this? Oh, inferred type. I didn't know that this was a thing. I actually haven't used this in GDScript at all so far. But like if this is inferred type, then what is this? Isn't type inference also happening here? Or could it be that this is explicitly typed integer, um and like this, once the inference is done, then it'll be explicitly typed. But then does this just never get typed at all? Is that what's going on? I think I need to Google this later on to understand uh how these kinds of variables are dealt with when you haven't given a type versus when you have given a type. Then okay, then you have constants. I need to look into any performance benefits between a constant and a variable, because like workflow wise, the benefit would be that you wouldn't accidentally change the variable value, and if it's a value that's always going to remain constant, then as the name suggests, it's a constant. um but like other than that, I need to see if there could be any possible performance benefits as well of doing that. All right, next we have enum. Okay, cool. Wait, is this a nameless enum? So like, is this just like, do these become accessible without using? So this is a named enum. So then you would be accessing it like, members of that enum. But like, do these just become like constants that are available for you to select? Hold on, let me try this. Like, what happens if I um let's define an enum somewhere here. Enum sum O1, sum O2, sum O3. And then let's do enum sum, and then we can do again, no, let's do something O1, something O2, something O3. Now, how do we access these? Okay, so it just, oh, this becomes a constant? Okay, that's interesting. I'm guessing it becomes a constant because it said C there, or dot C. Yeah, okay, I'm not sure if that's if that let's create a constant. Let's create a constant here. Wait, can I create a constant here? Okay. Uh yeah, okay, it's a constant. All right, and then sum is considered an enum, and we can access its members as well. All right, great, cool. Next we have built-in vector types. I don't think I think I have. No, yeah, yeah, I think I have for like positions and stuff. I think so. Have I? Yeah, yeah, something that has X and Y. That would be, yeah, yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah, okay. Then we have functions. All right, great. We have the identifier, the parameters. Then we have variables in there. Then we have conditions. Okay, great. For loop, while loop. I haven't used match yet. I don't think I have. I can't remember. Okay, then local variables, return statement. What is super? Oh, is it like in Rust to access the parent class, the what they call ancestor? Functions override functions within the same with the same name on the base/super class. If you still want to call them, use super. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Hold on. So what if I call super here? No, wait. Let's create a new function. Let's call it somefunc01. Okay. And then here, what if I call super? Yeah, it's not defined in there. Okay, so it super would be mainly if I'm trying to override a function that already exists, a function that's already defined. That makes sense. So would ready be defined? Let's let's try to do let's try to do it here. Would that work? Yeah, I guess that works. Okay, cool. All right. That's good to know. I didn't know about that. Then we have inner class. Okay, so this is interesting. I haven't made classes yet. And they also have the concept of inner class. So I need to see what's going on there. Then they have constructor. That's the init method. Okay. I wonder if that's demonstrating a constructor or if that's demonstrating like events that fire at different moments. Okay. If you have previous experience with statically typed languages such as C, C++, or C Sharp, but never used a dynamically typed one before, it is advised you read this tutorial, An Introduction to Dynamic Languages. Oh, is that what that's teaching? Which I mean, the name says that. I get that, but like, I thought it was going to be teaching Godot. It was going to be teaching GDScript itself. I'm not looking to learn exactly what a dynamic language is. I know Python, so like um, dictionaries, for and while. Okay. Uh, okay. It's seeming like the reference page is probably going to be more informative to me than this page, which I'll still go over this. But like it seems like a lot of the stuff on this side, I probably already know it. Anyways, let's carry on reading. Language. In the following, an overview is given to GDScript. Details such as which methods are available to arrays or other objects should be looked up in the linked class dependency. What? No, descriptions. Looked up in the linked class descriptions. What does linked class descriptions mean? It should be looked up in the linked class descriptions. Okay, okay. Yeah, let's carry. I zoned out for a second there. All right, let's carry on. Identifiers. Any string that restricts itself to alphabetic characters and underscore qualifies as an identifier. Additionally, identifiers must not begin with a digit. Okay, so this is basic stuff. Okay. Unicode characters that are considered confusable for ASCII characters are and emoji are not allowed in identifiers. That makes sense. All right, then we have keywords. So I need to look at all the keywords. Yeah, I know exactly what keywords are, but I need to see what keywords there are in this language so I can like explore more of it. So we have the basic if, else, for, while, match, break, continue, pass. Pass. Okay, hold on. Used where a statement is required syntactically, but execution of code is undesired. Example in empty functions. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, then return class name. defines the script as a globally accessible class. Okay, so I need to see the difference between class and class name. Okay. Also, yeah, you know what, let's define a class here. If I'm able to define something called an inner class, let's do some class O1. How do you, like, what happens after that? Within the class, let's define, I don't know, something like this. Okay. Now, do I need to create an instance of this? Is there like a new constructor? Okay. Okay, cool. So I have access to that. How would I go about making a private variable in a class? Okay, also within the class, so this class allows me to create a type, right? Now, can I create a function in here? Is that a thing? All right, so that works. So I should be able to call this, right? Oh, there's probably ambiguity, right? Because don't I have a function already called? No, I don't. Okay, there's no ambiguity. Um, why is it not? Okay, so there's a problem here. It's also not throwing any error, which is weird. Oh, there it is. Okay, I guess IntelliSense bugged out for a bit. So there's our function. So this right here allows us to create a type, right? Or, some kind of object. It allows us to create a reference, not a reference, but like a representation of some kind of object, and that object can have, it can have members, it can have properties, it can have methods, and probably other stuff as well. How do I tap into the constructor? Do I just use the init method? Let's say def init. No, that's not going to work because init is already defined, right? Wait, unexpected identifier in class body. Okay, what about now? Oh, it's not def, it's func. Okay, my bad. Okay, let's also add what was it? Console, I think? No. Was it log? Log dot. No, I think it's just print, right? Yeah, it's just print. Okay. Um constructor. Uh okay. So let's do this and yeah, let's run. Give it a second while it's running. Okay, constructor was called. So init is automatically called. Init is the constructor for this. What about process? Does process also get called? Okay. Doesn't seem like process gets called. So I need to look into class and like exactly what I think it'll explain that, right? In like later sections, because like it goes into details with like a bunch of other things. Typed arrays. There's something about containers, container built-in types, packed arrays. Okay, signal callable, data variable, static variable. Okay, casting, constants, enums, functions, referencing functions. Okay. Just a second, guys. Um, okay, cool. So lambda functions, okay. Static functions. Wait. Oh, is this for like situations where you don't want to have to create a function can be declared static when a function is static, it has no access to instance members. Yeah, okay. A static function has access to static variables. Also, static functions are useful to make libraries of helper functions. Okay. So yeah, what I was wondering is if it's like the same thing on a class. So for example, I could do static function something. Did I create another one called something? Okay, yeah, never mind. And then pass, and then over here, I don't need to access it through this. In fact, can I access it? I don't think I can. It's static, right? Instead, I have to access it through here. Where's something? Okay. It just hadn't, it's IntelliSense, dude. It hadn't kicked in just yet. Wait, does, oh shit. Something is still accessible even from the instance. I didn't realize that. Okay. Okay, so I was wrong about that. Hold on. I need to read up on this more. Because I assumed that that rule would be strictly applied, but apparently that's it's a little different here. A static function has access to static variables. Also, static functions are useful to so and so. Okay, it has no access to instance member variables. The function has no access to instance member variables or self, but there's nothing stopping you from calling the function from an instance. That is interesting, dude. All right, statements in control flow. Okay, its statements are standard, and the colon, the semicolon, as a statement separator is entirely optional. Okay, expressions. All right. All right. While, for, match, control flow. Okay, classes. By default, all script files are unnamed classes. In this case, you can only reference them using the file's path. Using either. Okay, yeah. Um, in this case, you can only reference them using the file's path, using either a relative or an absolute path. Okay. For example, if you name a script file character.gd, inherits from so and so. Oh, okay. Now I get what they mean. Okay, all right. Okay. On the other hand, I'm guessing if I name the class, then I would be able to inherit from it using the name. So this loads character.gd and creates a new node instance from it. Wait, load character G. Oh, that's this section. This is just inheriting. Okay. Man, I am zoning out. Hold on, let me take a sip of my energy drink. Okay, registering named classes. You can give your class a name to register it as a new type in Godot's editor. For that, you use the class name keyword. You can optionally use the icon annotation with a path to an image to use it as an icon. You know, I feel like this thing they have going on of like um absolute paths. I feel like this causes issues in various places. Because like imagine you specify an absolute path here, and then you move that icon somewhere. It's gonna break, right? It's not gonna be able to find what it's supposed to find. So then you have to find a way to make this a little more dynamic, I guess you can say, or well, relative is a better word. Well, no, I think dynamic is a better word. The you need to basically you need to be able to find the path by having a reference to the asset itself. So you shouldn't have to enter you shouldn't have to hard code the value in here. You should be able to like expose it in the inspector and then drop the asset in there and then like just read the path from there somehow. Though I wonder if not doing it that way, because like I can't be the first one to have this idea. I'm pretty sure a bunch of people have had this idea. Now, what I'm wondering is, I mean, assuming there is no better way of doing it, there might be, because like I'm still very new to GDScript, right? So like there very well may be, like for example, what I'm talking about is exports, like how you can use export to to you can use the export annotation to expose a variable in the inspector. What I'm trying to do is expose. Dude, I think I've done that. I think I did that with one of the previous. Yeah, I just remembered. I think I have done that. I was able to expose. So I was able to create a variable. Um, let's create it here. Export. Oh, easy. Okay. Uh, let's create a variable. Node 2D, I guess. What is the type of this? Compressed texture 2D. Okay. Can I add that as a type here? Would that work? How do I specify where does the identifier come? Where does the type come? Is it like this? Oh, it's like this. Okay. I thought it was like in Rust where you wait, no. Even in Rust that's how you do it. Okay, I guess I just yeah, I got confused. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Even in Rust you do it in this way. I don't know why I thought about the other method. But yeah, okay, so we expose this, right? And then I have the option here. So in here, I can either add this or I can drag and drop this. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. Right. Now let's make a duplicate of this resource, right? And let's call it icon O2. And let's put icon O2 here instead. And now let's create a new folder. And this is one of like the many experiments that I want to do where, okay, let's say I drag and drop this here. What happens here? Are we still good? I think we're still good. Yeah, it maintains the reference. It does. Okay. All right, so that thing I was talking about where we the whole absolute path thing, we are not limited to that. So we do have options for referencing. All right. Great. Your class will then appear in the editor. Oh, like when you're creating a new node? Okay, let's try that. Hold on. So let's do class name, um, some node 2D. Okay. Now let's try to create a. Oh, there it is. Some node 2D. Cool. But wait, isn't this just the script? Oh yeah, well, I mean, the other node is also just the script. Okay. Cool, cool. Nice. Uh Inheritance. And then what else is there? Class constructor. Static constructor, classes as resources, properties, tool mode. So this is, I believe, for making plugins and stuff. Wait, by default, scripts don't run inside the editor. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's not just for, well, I mean, I've seen it used for, like, in, like, the plugins stuff. Uh, but, like, this is kind of like, in Unity, you have, you're able to add, fuck, what was it called? Attribute. You're able to call the attribute, man, juggling multiple languages, I kind of mix up the terminology and mix up syntaxes and mix up various concepts and shit. Okay, anyways, in C sharp you have in C sharp in Unity you have the execute in edit mode attribute that you can add to your script, and when you add that to the script, then I believe when the script is attached to a game object that is currently in the scene, that is in the currently active scene, that script will automatically execute without you having to enter play mode. All right, memory management. Godot implements reference counting. I need to read up on this as well to properly understand how to handle, or well, first of all, how Godot handles memory and stuff that I need to be careful of, and then also to what extent I have like explicit memory control, if at all. Signals, another thing I need to look deeper into, because so far I've only touched it a little bit, but I've gotten a fair idea of how it works, and I'm glad that the tutorial showed us both both ways of doing of working with signals. One was the UI method, and the other was the coding method. Even we are even able to register or subscribe, connect, basically connect. We're even able to connect to signals via code. So that's pretty cool. You don't necessarily, or rather, you're not limited to just using UI. Okay, so I'm gonna carry on reading this, but I'm getting super tired once again. Um, I'm gonna try and move my I'm gonna try and shift my sleeping schedule a little bit so that, or rather offset it a little bit from where it's at right now, so that whenever I do wake up, I'm then able to stream after some time. Because like at this point in time, I've been awake for maybe 14 hours. That's probably why I'm getting sleepy right now. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna end the stream here. I'm gonna carry on reading this later on. But yeah, exciting Godot and Rust things happened today, so I'm happy about that. That being said, I hope you guys have a nice day, and I will see you all next time. Peace.